Kimba size, doctor.
Be tripping out, Kimba, be tripping.
Kimba in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi there, it's me, Kimba, radio broadcast, season 6, episode 1, roller coaster. And I think the title kind of gives it away. Long time coaster aficionado, but I was able to also to incorporate it into radio and broadcast. And just want to share with you some of the events I got to partake in, the biggest of which, the grand opening of the Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith, which is going to be closing as of this recording this Sunday, which is March 1st, will be the last time you can ride it before it shuts down and becomes the Rock and Roller Coaster starring the Muppets. I was lucky enough to be at the grand opening in July of 1999, but we're going to get to all that. First, going to kind of switch it around years-wise and station-wise. Being in South Florida, I got to go to Universal Studios and Walt Disney World and Busch Gardens quite a bit because whether it was a holiday or an opening of a coaster, we would get invited to a lot of those things. The first thing I want to do is show you probably the greatest or one of the greatest ride photos ever taken. This is from the Hulk at Universal Studios. It's pretty epic. And it is not Photoshop. At the time, you could wear fanny packs or whatever on the ride. You didn't have to put everything in a locker. And it happened to be a little cold the time we went there, so we had jackets on because they would never have let me bring a microphone onto the ride, but I snuck it in my jacket. I knew where the camera was, and hence the photo. When I worked for Light FM, one of the first promotions I got to do was ride the Kimba with Kimba. That is a roller coaster over in Busch Gardens. We had to figure out how I could broadcast live from the roller coaster. We had this little piece of engineering marvel. I think give a shout out to Larry for that, where it looked like a little beeper almost, and you could clip it onto your belt, and it was wireless, but you could hear the radio station. So the only wire would be the headphones, but you could hear the radio station without being tethered to anything, which really added to the ability to be mobile. And we needed a practice run before we went out to Busch Gardens. And kudos to them, by the way, for allowing us to do this. This was just crazy. At the time in Dania Beach, where there's a big old shopping place now, it used to be kind of an amusement park sort of thing. It had a game room and go-karts, and it also had a roller coaster. It was called the Dania Beach Hurricane. It was a wooden roller coaster. It sat off the side of I-95 for many years. And we reached out to them, and they allowed us to go out there and try the equipment and see and work out the kinks of what it would sound like to be on a roller coaster while broadcasting. So we went on that quite a few times and got it as much as we could. And then we went out to Busch Gardens. What I'm going to do is play the audio of maybe the break preceding it and then me on the coaster. The visuals you were going to see are not. We didn't have any visual then. There weren't smartphones, I don't think, at the time. It was July 18th of 2003. So it was quite some time ago, and we didn't have that technology to video it. But I will put up videos from Universal on the Rip Ride Rocket that I was on and just some of that kind of stuff. So you can see some of the different coasters that I've been on while working for the radio stations throughout the year. But here is me, Kimba, on the Kimba.
101.5 Light FM. It's me, Kimba, live from Busch Gardens. I am standing at the platform of Kimba. The next time you hear from me, I will be on this steel monstrosity. 101.5 Light FM. And I don't know if you can hear the clicking and the clanking, but I am on Kimba. I am now starting the ascent. We go 153 feet up in the air, and the descent is pretty close to the same, so we kind of go straight down. It's almost 4,000 feet of track, all kinds of loops and twists, and almost 4 Gs, and we're going down again, so it was nice knowing you. We are completely upside down right now. Take a little bit of a twist of some sort. Here we go. Weightlessness. I am now weightless, which is a rarity for me to actually be weightless. That doesn't happen very often. And I enjoy it. That would be the eye of the roller coaster.
Right? It's pretty cool. It's cutting in and out, but you get the gist of it. And then before that, I was at Busch Gardens. The Kimba did exist. And one of my colleagues thought it would be funny to wait outside of the ride when people were coming off from just riding it and ask them what it was like to ride the Kimba. No one realized he was saying it incorrectly. That's what this sounded like.
Can you tell me something about the Kimba ride?
It was fun. We were right in the front.
Have you ridden Kimba before?
No.
Your first time?
Yeah, it was good, though.
How does Kimba stack up to other rides here at Busch Gardens?
The best so far.
So Kimba's the best?
Yeah, so far, yeah.
All right, thank you. Excuse me, guys. You getting ready to ride the Kimba ride?
Yeah.
Have you ridden it before?
No.
You pretty excited about it?
Yeah.
What do you expect Kimba to be like? You think Kimba will be better than a Python?
Yeah, I hope so.
Excuse me, ma'am. You just got off the Kimba. How do you feel?
I don't know. It feels funny to walk.
Yeah, was it worth the price of admission?
Yes, it was. Definitely.
All right, thanks.
So then it was July 29th and 30th of 1999, the grand opening of the Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith. And I went up there to broadcast. The band was going to be there. There was going to be this big old ceremony because they had a soft opening with cast members going on it, but this was going to be the official grand opening of the ride. Set up a bunch of radio stations. They flew in and they had us set up. And one of the bonuses that I got was one of the artists at Disney made signs for each of our desks. I'll show you a picture of it. I had it for years. It's one of those things I really don't know what happened to it, but it was quite large and bulky, so maybe it was one too many moves. We also used to do a thing on Zeta called the Rock and Roll Airlines trip, and this was trip number 51, and we had 4 winners who each won a trip for 4. So 16 people total got to come out and be part of this grand opening because it really was by invitation only. And I will tell you, it was the first ride attraction at Walt Disney World that had a fast pass, and it certainly was at MGM Studios that had a fast pass. Here's just a couple of me chit-chatting with some listeners and just talking about the ride in general.
They drove into under the archway into the area that is the Rock and Roller Coaster, and it was basically the ceremony to initiate the ride. I mean, it's been open for a while. Some people have been on it.
It's great.
They talked about it. That was Tracy, by the way, that you're hearing. And Debbie's here, too. Now, Debbie is formerly of Fort Lauderdale, now resides here in Orlando. Tracy's from the Rhode Island area. They were just there. They were much closer than I was to what was going on. So explain what you saw up there with the pen.
He pulled up his shirt.
They signed into the cement, and then they put their handprints into
they
cement.
raised up their hands, and they put their hands back down to let everybody, and hold them there in the cement, and then they raised them up again.
And let me stress, I mentioned this earlier, the top news story of the day in Orlando is the record-breaking heat. I cannot stress without an ocean breeze how hot it is here. They gave Stephen a towel with which to wipe himself.
There was over his head.
He put it over his head,
his hands, and then he threw it
into the crowd, and I caught it.
And what a fight
Tracy
this woman put up.
And 5 girls jumped on top of me. I still have the claw marks on my body.
And she stood her ground like a champ.
I feel like I need security escort.
Tracy, Debbie, thank you very much for stopping by and talking with us. We are live from Disney's MGM, the Rock and Roller Coaster, starring Aerosmith.
If you've never been on the ride, you walk in and you go into this room and they look like they're in the recording studio, and Ken Marino, the actor, is their engineer, and Ileana Douglas plays their manager, the actress. And initially when it first opened, there's a line where Joe says, "Hey, can you grab my whatever guitar?" And there's actually a cast member would walk out live and get the guitar to make it seem realistic. I don't really know that lasted a whole lot longer because they had a backup, which was a recorded piece of audio. So if they didn't have a cast member, and the last few times I went, I never saw anybody come out. Basically, they're recording, and the manager says, "Oh my God, you're going to be late to the show." So Stephen decides he's going to invite all of us along, and we need all these big stretch limos because that's the car, that's the roller coaster, is a limo, and we're going to race to the show. Well, in doing that, when he said, "Let's get him to the show and give him backstage passes," apparently he made a very crude hand gesture that no one caught for about 15 years. I think they finally edited it out 2017 or something. The funny part about that is the song that you go into the studio with is "Walk This Way." And I think, have they ever listened to the lyrics of that song? Because I don't know if Walt Disney World would have used that song in particular for the ride. Maybe that's just me. And then you go on the limo, and each car has a different song. selection. There's more than one song, but each limo has a different license plate and each has a different mix. And one has Love in an Elevator, which they switch at the very end to sing Love in a Roller Coaster. And then the ride ends with you appearing like the red carpet, which takes you into the gift shop. I got to interview, as part of this, Brad Whitford, guitarist extraordinaire from Aerosmith.
94.9 Zeta, the rock station. That's whole Malibu. Me, Kimba, hanging out to Disney's MGM studio for the Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith, the grand opening. And sitting beside me is 1/5 of the greatest rock and roll band in these here United States of America.
Kimba.
Yes.
Sounds very Tarzanish.
Brad Whitford, guitarist from Aerosmith. Hello.
How are you?
I've said it before and I'll say it again. This is almost like when you have a favorite band and then they do in your wildest dreams, you think you can go to an amusement park and get on a ride that everything is surrounded by your favorite band. To me, it's amazing. From your end, from your perspective, what is it like?
Well, outside of models and stuff that we saw, I mean, this is my first time actually seeing the whole ride and actually riding it, and I'm impressed. I'm really impressed with the ride. I wasn't expecting as much, but of course they've gone over the top with it, and it's a really great ride. When
you were first approached, whether it be from the people at Disney or from other bandmates saying, oh, here's an idea, a roller coaster for Aerosmith. What was the first thing that went through your mind with that one?
Well, we met the guys from Disney Imagineering who do all the technical side of this, and they plan it and build it, and we met those guys first. That's really where you start, and they were so psyched that it was contagious, and I just thought this could be very, very cool.
It hauls, I'm using Disney language here, it hauls buttocks. When I saw you do the ceremony earlier today, putting the hands in the concrete and everything, it reminded me there's a thing going around that you guys might actually get a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Have you heard anything about that? Do you know if that's true?
I got a fax in my fax machine, actually, that said that we were invited to do that. Isn't that like for Hollywood stars and stuff?
Well, I think at this point, you've been in several films, sort of, kind of. There's the Wayne's World 2. You've been in the Sgt. Pepper's as the future villain band. As I recall, my first time I got to see them on the big screen, I think I cried. I hear that the entire band might appear in the sequel to Get Shorty.
That's true, yes. We met Elmore Leonard, and he was a kind of big fan of ours, and he was working on actually hadn't even started it yet. Hadn't even started the sequel yet, but we just became fast friends, and he decided, because of the angle of the story, he thought, boy, it would be great if I could fit Aerosmith in here, and sure enough, he did it. Yeah, and so we're going to be in the film. You're a band of so many firsts. I mean, you're one of the only entire bands that on Saturday Night Live, you're involved in skits aside from doing, they've had maybe the Sting or the Paul Simon, but you're one of the bands that they fully incorporated into the show. You're one of the first bands to download a song, and you are the first band to have the Fast Pass thing going on. The attraction opening with this new thing where you don't have to wait in line. You're the first rock and roll band to have this kind of ride, your own ride at an amusement park. What's next as far as first? Do you have any ideas what you'd like to be the first to do next? Because you guys just seem to do everything before anyone else. Well, Stephen has this grand plan that we're going to be the lounge act on one of the next shuttles. Woohoo! So will it be lounge versions of Aerosmith songs? So yeah, it'd just be an anti-grav experience, and we'll see how it goes. All right, one last question. Usually I know it's boxers or briefs, but I guess I should say monorail or steamboat. Well, I don't know. I think you'd have to go with personal preference on that. Yeah. Okay. All right. Brad Whitford, thank you very much for talking to us. Thanks very much.
And so, I got to go on the ride a couple of times, and then they had a press conference in one of their sound stages, and you had to say who you were and ask a question, and it went something like this. Hi, it's Kimba from Zeta.
Yo, it is you.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm all the better for seeing you, thank you.
Mm-hmm. You still have my harmonica?
You better believe it.
Good girl.
In my next life, I will be, thank you. I've noticed some signs say Rock and Roller Coaster, some say Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith. I know it's opening day and all, but is this a long term? Do I need to prepare to protest and throw myself across the tracks? Is this going to be forever? Is that by design that some say starring Aerosmith, some don't?
I don't know, Malcolm. What do you?
Malcolm, do you want to take that one?
Malcolm, don't make me come over there.
I just got a beep, actually, Steve.
Yeah.
No, I can honestly say that this is a marriage made in heaven, and this is a long-term venture for us. And the strength of having Aerosmith with Rock and Roller Coaster is where we're at, and we're looking forward to working with the band for many, many years to come.
Good answer, Malcolm.
Malcolm, by the way, is the vice president for MGM Studios. I just threatened his life. That's great.
Like how he sidestepped that question. I mean, really, there was hardly any Aerosmith merchandise. Then there was a lot, because I think I bought one of everything. And then it slowly disappeared. And the last time I went in March of 2025 because I knew they were going to be changing it. I just didn't know when. They didn't have a solid date. So I went really a year ago to go on it one last time.
In the front row.
It's just getting started. Love on a roller coaster. Stuck on a roller coaster.
There was no merchandise that had Aerosmith on it, so that was kind of a bummer. I was hoping to get one last hurrah out of it, but no such luck.
Walt Disney World, Aerosmith. One of these things is not like the other.
We've always been the exception of the rule, right? Because how else would rock and roll thrive? There's only one group of people that can shine like Disney, and that's the Aero Force. So it's just a perfect marriage, When they had a roller coaster, we had the music. So it was like.
Steven, the first time you went on the ride, there's a video of it. I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard right before or right at takeoff, you have this look on your face, and they're telling me the face just says it all.
I was thinking that.
Your face told the story.
It told it all, right? Somebody would have to come up with some serious maneuvering to come up with something wrong with that ride. It's electromagnetic propulsion, 0 to 60 in 2.6 seconds, and all I heard was my own voice counting myself down to doom. And it is what it is. It's a roller coaster ride from here at Disney heaven. Put your head between your legs and kiss your ass goodbye. How does that go? It's like, what was I thinking?
How many times have you or the band been on the ride thus far?
24 times as of today.
When we got here, we actually rode it 28 times, and the 29th time, when Joe and I looked at each other and thought, we'd better go over to the Tower of Terror because it was whipping our head back so much that we had to get tweaked and dropped from an 8-story building just to get back into shape again. Rode it another 10 times, so.
They went on the rides a bunch of times. And also Denny Dent, the late Denny Dent, this artist who he would paint wildly. And let's say he was painting Jimi Hendrix. He would play Hendrix music while he was painting, and he would do it upside down. And when he flipped it over, it would be a Hendrix portrait, which was insane. So he did most of the members of the band ahead of time. And then the night of the grand opening, he did Stephen and Joe's live with all of us watching. That was very cool. And I believe it was the second day that Stephen was there and we were going on the ride at the same time. Unfortunately, I didn't get to go on the ride with him. However, one of my radio colleagues was going on the ride as well. And I said, well, if you get to sit with him, just tell him I said hi or whatever. So she ended up sitting next to him. He was talking to her and she said to him, I love her forever for this. Keebler, I love you. She says, I heard you know Kimba. And he kind of looked at her and he's like, yes, I do. She goes, oh, I love her. And he says, so do I. But you can tell he's looking at her like, what is going on right now? You're sitting next to Steven Tyler and all she can do is talking about me. So that was pretty freaking awesome. And I just wanted to celebrate the very first rock and roll themed roller coaster. That was not only here, it was open at the Disneyland in Paris for a while as well. Lasted a really long time, 1999 until March 1st of 2026. And I'm glad I got to be part of it. I'm glad I got to be at the grand opening of it. And I'm glad that I got to show you what it was like. And hopefully, if you're in the area, you can make it out there and go on it one last time. Thank you for being one of Kimba's Herd, and thanks for listening to me, Kimba, Radio Broadcast, Season 6, Episode 1, Roller Coaster.
Cause Kimba's on the radio. Kimba!